Hi, and welcome back to Pittman's Pumpkin Patch, Pittman's Garden Patch. It is August the 8th, 2018, and I first wanted to say happy birthday to my son Luke, who's turning 7 today. And so happy birthday, buddy. I love you very much, and always remember you are a blessing from God. So now, what I want to do is I want to show you guys something. I don't know if 100% sure, but I think right down here at the face of this plant right here is maybe perhaps where a vine borer has attacked, where an egg has successfully hatched and dug in. I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not going to take a chance. So what I want to show you is what I do when I notice this kind of stuff. This here is my little syringe loaded with BT for killing larvae and caterpillars and things like that. All right, and what I'm going to do is, of course, just inject it into the hole. And yeah, I can feel that right in there. So there you have me shooting, and I'm just going to see if I can feel another little hole. So you want to be careful not to clog the nozzle of your syringe here, because okay, so it's injecting it in there, that's for sure. Okay, so in any event, I usually don't need to shoot that much, but it felt like there was a large cavity in there, and I wanted to make sure that I filled up as much as I could, and hopefully that should take care of that. I also have the azadirachtin directly in my fertigation tank. That's when the sprinklers are on, when the irrigation systems turn on, it's feeding right into the root system, and that should get sucked up because it's a water-soluble version called azazole. Pretty expensive, but very effective, and you don't have to worry about burning your plants. So you can spray it as a foliar spray, or you can use soil drench. So let me show you. Now I know I said I would check back in with you guys in about 4 or 5 days about that pumpkin that I along with Mother Nature attempted to fertilize yesterday, and but I did want to show you its progress, even in 1 day's time, what it can do. I'm just looking for a place to put my syringe there so I don't stick myself. Okay, so let me get through the vines here as best I can. Okay, so let's see. All right, there it is down there. Sorry for all the moving around, folks. Okay, I'll try to get you in close. So it looks like it's swollen up just a little bit. So but let me caution anybody that doesn't necessarily mean it got successfully pollinated. It has seemed to grow in a little bit, but that's actually kind of normal from my experience, that it will grow a little bit even if it wasn't successfully pollinated. It'll swell up a little bit, and then it'll start to brown out, yellow out and everything, and then shrivel and die off. So I just want to show you that. This is after 1 day's time, and we'll see what happens in the next 4 or 5 days. Does it continue to grow? And even if it does, again, I have seen in my own experience where it's grown, and I said, okay, it's successfully pollinated, only for it, a few days later to stop growing and then eventually shrivel up and die. And I guess that's because the plant changed its mind. But we'll see in a few days what's going on. The only other thing really to show you is the fertigation tank, and it kind of explain what that's all about, which I've done before in the past video when I first got this tank right here. So this is my fertigation tank right there. Okay, I'm gonna try to get the lighting on there. And it's an EZ, that's the letter E, the letter Z, flow, F-L-O. And right there you can see the label. Okay, and it's called a fertigation tank. So ferta meaning for fertilizer, right? So obviously you can put liquid fertilizers in here or any other water soluble soil amendment like liquid folic acids or amino acids, as long as it's, again, water soluble. Again, like I said already, liquid fertilizers. So that's what you can put in these things. Of course, you just hook up your hose to it. So it has these two lines here. You loosen these up, the caps here, this one here and this one here, when you want to take the green cap off. Of course, make sure your water's turned off. Alright, so you would loosen those caps, water's off, and then you would loosen the cap. And then you would add your fertilizers and things. And after a while, the stuff's going to run out and there's only going to be water in there. So, drain off some of the water, and then add your fertilizers and soil amendments and things like that. I mean, one of the things I add in here is the azidiaractin, the azazole, to get into the water for soil drenching. Okay, then put it back on, turn back on your water hose, and it'll fill it up with water inside. And then just kind of shake it around, and then it'll go right out this clear tube here, and then into your irrigation system. Okay, and I have a little valve here that I have turned off because I wanted to film, but let me just turn it back on. And there goes the dragonfly. He was sitting down there on top of the little water emitter, and it turned on and it made him fly off of it. So you can see that water emitter right there. That's right near the head, or the stem of the plant when it comes out of the ground. I'm trying to get in closer. Alright, and just kind of clear some of this rotten stuff away. So now, and so this has been going for a little while. It's going to be like a 94-degree day today. So I want to get all that stuff in there and let it soak up as much as I can. Right now, this fertigation system is only watering 2 rows right now on there. So you see the line that runs down there, and then it right here at the shovel handle elbows in and goes straight down this row here. And so it's fertilizing and watering at the same time those plants. It's really a great investment if you were trying to grow some good, healthy, strong plants. It really makes everything easier, because not only are, again, like, you're watering your plants and you're fertilizing them at the same time. All you got to do is have a sprinkler system or whatever, come out and turn on the hose like I have right now. That's all I did, was went to the spigot and turned it on. Okay. Now I do have a Wi-Fi 4-port timer in the house. I just haven't hooked it up yet. But that is another addition, because you can then turn on, turn off, program, adjust your programs of your water irrigation system from anywhere in the world. I could be flying at 30,000 feet over Guam and turn on or turn off or make adjustments according to what the weather is here in Virginia Beach, and be able to take care of my plants. So you can go on vacation, and your as far as your watering and fertilizing goes, that can be taken care of. So it's really a worthwhile investment, because who wants to keep coming out early in the morning and turn on the hoses, right? And turn them off, and then turn them back on, and then turn them back off. And in the middle of the day, you don't want to have to sit there and worry about it. If you see that your plants are under stress because it's the atmosphere is soaking up so much of the water so much, you want to be able to help out your plants. Now, there are some other things you can do. Of course, that being, putting some grass clippings or leaf compost or just leaves around your plants. And then that, of course, will keep the water and moisture in longer too. But also the leaves themselves of the plants help to shade out the sun at the base of the plant. And that helps maintain water moisture because it's not as hot in there, so less evaporation. The timing of the day in which you water your plants makes a huge difference. And that, again, comes in handy with the water timer, with a Wi-Fi water timer. Because you can program it to go off anytime you want it to, so you don't have to get out of bed. You don't have to worry about it. You can turn it on at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and it water your plants, and it has all this. Then you got 2-3 hours before the sun really gets on it, and it's for your plants to soak up all that water and nutrients. And you can do it again in the evening time to help it out for an overnight. But one of the things, like for the middle of the day, when the heat of the day, you got to be careful about watering at that time, because your hose has been sitting out there in that sun and collecting heat energy inside there and heating up that water that's still left over in the hose. And if you then turn on your sprinkler system at that time, you're going to have very hot water going right into the root zone, and that could kill your plants, burn them, kill the root system and everything like that. So in that situation, you are going to have to come outside, unhook the hose, the water line directly. And if I were you, I wouldn't unhook it from the main water source up there, because you still have all the water, hot water, sitting in the line here. So it wouldn't do you any good. What you want to try to do is flush out that hot water. So I would unhook it. Here's my hose line coming in here. So you can still imagine this being the hose line, the main water line, coming directly into my 4-port water system, okay? So the 4-port water system would have a direct line here, and then it had the 4 ports out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you run your lines out to your garden, right? So you want to unhook this, then turn on the water to flush out all the hot water out of here. And as soon as, of course, you got cold water coming out, turn off your water, hook it back up into here, and you're good to go. Now, are you going to have hot water probably sitting inside these lines here? Yeah, no doubt about that you will. It'll be sitting in there, but it'll quickly get flushed out with the colder water, and your plants shouldn't suffer for very long, okay? So that's the short and skinny on that. I don't have any. I got maybe 1 or 2 that I know of right now, other pumpkin female flowers that are looking like they might make it to bloom. Who knows? I found one this morning that I thought I've been keeping my eye on it, but it died out. And that's normal. It's par for the course. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and go from there. And, well, just a quick little thing here of the blueberry plant. So I've pulled the net up, rolled it up on a PVC pipe, and I have taken these same green rubber ties and tied it around to keep these things up. And these will stay this way throughout the rest of the year into next year, all the way till probably sometime in May, when after these blueberry plants have bloomed and the bees have been in here doing their job, and when they start to get ready to ripen, I'll have to drop the net down, secure it to the ground, and to protect it from the blueberries from the birds. And so that'll be cool. I got some major work, I guess, still here to do on these plants. A lot of pruning. I had given this stuff time to come out and do things, but to bloom and bud out, but these things never did. So, well, they got some kind of burnt leaves on these things. So what I'm going to do is I might prune this back and see what happens. I don't know. Or just forego this little particular branch. But anyways, there is some new growth going on right here on some of these leaves here. So that's a good sign. This took a major hit, but it's growing back. So I don't know if I'm going to get any fruit off of it next year. It was very limited this year. A lot of dieback, I guess, from winter. Here's another little cane. I gotta get that out. But it's making a comeback and it's growing strong. But I don't know if I'm going to get anything off of it next year. I think it's just in the leaf stage where it's really growing a lot of green leaves for photosynthesis. So it might be another year, it might be 2 years before I start to see really any major fruiting off of that one again. But it is what it is, you know. I'm not quite sure what happened to dieback or whatever from winter. But we'll see. Anywho, nothing really else. Yeah. So you can see, hopefully with that sun like that, you can see how you have the lighter green leaves up here and the darker green leaves down here. So that is, the lighter green is where your new growth is going on. So that's a good sign. It means you still got some health, the plant's still going good. So I like that. Now, we'll see what we get. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of new growth on here. Maybe a smidge, just a little bit, but we'll see. This is one of my sweetheart varieties. Somehow it grew up pretty doggone tall. I might have to snip that out. But yeah, it's okay. But when I get down to my last one, this is my second sweetheart. For years, 2 or 3 seasons, this was really productive. It wasn't nearly as productive this year, and there was a lot of dieback, and you can see it just did not grow right this year. I don't know what happened. I don't know if diseases or whatever. I'm not an expert on my blueberry stuff, so I don't quite know, but there's a lot of dieback. And so I've been fertilizing last day or two, adding in some seaweed and everything and all the good stuff to try to revitalize it back into some health. And so we'll see what happens, but it's not looking all that great. And I don't know if it'll make a comeback. I don't know if it's going to continue to fizzle out. But it was one of my best producing blueberries for about 2 or 3 seasons. And the blueberries on these sweethearts are super delicious. The best I've ever had. Big, plump, full of just the blueberry flavor that you would expect. It just is the best that I've ever had. Apple trees. You see the new growth right there at the very end? The light green leaves versus the dark green. So that's a good. This tree suffers. You look at this. You see this diseases and stuff on these leaves? This is, if I'm not mistaken, apple cedar rust disease. There's nothing really I can do about that I know of. If anybody's got any ideas, because what we have around the area, and there's nothing I could do about it. I think it's a bunch of juniper or cedar trees, and there's a whole line of them, some in the front, some over on the side, all the way over there, and it really just, yeah, there's nothing you can do. If those trees are already in your area, you can't do a whole lot. I haven't seen anything that you could do. So the Jonathan, which is what we were just looking at, is very susceptible, and you can see the diseases on that one big time. Here's my Granny Smith, and now the Granny Smith must be more resistant to the apple cedar, because you don't see, at least I don't see, any real diseases on this thing. You know, it's right next to the doggone tree, so it should be getting it too. So it looks like Granny Smiths are not susceptible to cedar rust disease. And this is my Honeycrisp, which is moderately susceptible to it. You can see some of these discolorations on there. And, you know, that shows some of the beginning stages of the cedar rust disease. Now, it doesn't get it nearly as bad because I can find a decent amount of healthy leaves on here. I'm not seeing a whole lot of new growth on the trees this year. I had an apple or two on here, but I think it got eaten up. Now, see, here's a little bit more of the disease. You can see on these leaves, like there, you can see that discoloration. And you can see the spots, the little sores, if you will. So it's has some resistance to it. That's interesting. Look at that leaf right there, that limey green on the side, but the darker, healthier stuff there. Huh. Anywho, you know, not nearly as bad. I can still see the some of the results up there of the Japanese beetles attack of the 2018 year. So, anywho. So the Jonathan seems to be the one that gets most affected by the apple cedar rust disease. And, you know, look, there's another one of those leaves like that. That's interesting. So anywho, and the, what am I looking at here? The Fuji. So here's my Fuji apple tree. Don't know what all these dark spots are. They don't feel soft, so they're not mushy. Well, this one has got a little slit in it. Still solid. Again, I don't know. That one's a little mushy there, just a little bit. I don't know if red spots or these purpley red spots is the apple cedar rust showing up into the fruit, or because it doesn't feel like a worm attack. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like there's a hole in it, and it's not feeling mushy. It just feels like spots. Now, I haven't really done a good job of spraying my trees like I wanted to. There's a couple apples way up there. But, and so far, birds haven't gone after these things, so we'll see. And I don't know how these things are going to taste, you know. But anywho, things are, you know, just like every year. You know, I say this all the time, just like every year. Every gardener faces good things and bad things, you know. One part of your garden might be doing good, but something else over here is not doing so good. And you're trying to be a detective and a doctor at the same time, and you're trying to figure things out. And, you know, but you got to remember as you're going along doing all these things that, you know, not everything is in your control. You can't always do everything. There's this guy in Hawaii, Bill. He's done a lot in the horticultural realm of things, you know, whether it's through landscaping and trees and plants and gardening and propagation and all kinds. He's a pretty good encyclopedia of information, if you will, and on plants in particular, but I'm sure he knows other things as well. But anyways, you know, one of the things he says is that a gardener should be basically 80% observation and 20% action. So you go around and you observe things, and you're figuring things out, and you're looking at stuff, and you're going, okay, well, what's going on here? Oh, what's going to happen here? Oh, when this happens, then that was happening. So, you know, you don't always rush in right away to try to, let me hit it with fertilizer, or let me hit it with this chemical, or let me, you know, water the heck out of it, because maybe it's gotten too much water. maybe you need to notice that in this part of your garden water seems to collect more, or it doesn't collect very well. So maybe this garden might need some kind of cocoa coir or some other kind of compost in there to help it retain water a little bit more. So there's all these different kinds of things that you need to be on the lookout for and kind of observe stuff. And I could probably, as I'm looking at my blueberries and seeing how things weren't really great on the growth this year, particularly that sweetheart I showed you at the very end there of the blueberry row. That very well could have been from the fact that I really didn't set up an irrigation system this year. Like I've had it all my other places. I've had a irrigation system going through the plants, and I was able to keep the plants watered because blueberries like moist soil, and I haven't really provided a moist environment for it this year, and I think it's kind of paid a bit of a price. And because I wasn't able to put water in, I also wasn't able to put in the liquid fertilizers and soil amendments to help it keep it healthy and strong and vibrant. I didn't really do that this year, and I think that has played a part in why that tree looks so sickly. Now, why did it look sickly? And this one, kind of sickly, but not nearly as much. Same variety, sweetheart. Why did this one thrive and that one didn't as much? I don't know. So these are what I'm talking about when you observe things and you start trying to connect the dots. Well, what am I doing? What's going on in nature? Too much rain going on? Not enough rain? You got to know your plants. Blueberries like more acidic soil. They like more moist soil. Pepper plants, on the other hand, like a little bit more drier soil. So you always got to be on the lookout for that kind of stuff. So I have been fertilizing the blueberries, and I have been adding some more water to it the last couple days or so. I don't know if I'm going to ever get any time to put in an irrigation system. I got to try to come up with something that allows me to get around the yard and not have it be such an issue all the time for me. You don't want a bunch of hose lines going all over the place. So I got to come up with a plan. I'm kind of already thinking about it and kind of hatching it inside my brain. Because before at past houses, I've had all these lines that run across the yard, and it really makes it a pain in the butt when you try to cut the grass. You got to move all these lines and everything. So I was like, well, why don't I just run one line all the way out to the garden, like I am right now, and then I run a 4-port, and I have a 4-port water system that I attach out here, and then I run the lines out to the gardens, and then I can run a line, over to the blueberry bushes, and then somehow, I don't know, get it over to the apple trees, so that's, something I'm thinking about, because, then when it comes time to mow, or weed whack just maybe in that area. Weed whacking might be just the answer, but, I got to be able to quickly disconnect it here so I can take a short piece of line and move it out of the way, versus the whole 3 or 4 big long lines that are running from the spigot. How is that going to look when I tried to get a line over here to the apple trees? I don't know what that's going to look like. It might be I run because if you try to split off from the blueberry bushes, then it means you're going to have a separate line coming across here that you got to deal with. Or if you try to connect it from the end of the blueberries down here and connect it across over there, then you got this big line standing in the middle in the way. So I don't think that's very practical, because that kind of makes a bit of a hassle there. So either you run a separate line at the beginning of the blueberries and run it right over here, and maybe you get away with that, or you could run a separate line along the bricks down here to the house and bring it right over here. So there's options. There's pros and cons to everything. I know I've been very long-winded, and I kind of started off trying to do one little thing, but when it turned into a bunch of other stuff. But that's kind of how I get sometimes. I apologize for the long video, but I cover a lot of different things. So if you have any specific questions or specific comments, or could you talk about this a little bit more? Well, what about this plant, or what about that plant, or how would you do this, or how would you do that? You know, just let me know, and I'll see what I can come up with. You know, I'm not a super expert, but I have learned quite a bit. And observation. All right, and then only maybe 20% action. You know, if you observe aphids on your plants, you got to take action right away. It's not always run and get the poison and the skull and crossbones poison and spray them down. No, there's other ways of getting them, you know, that are less harsh and damaging to the environment and to your plants. You know, I came out there and I had aphids attacking my blueberries in this one particular area. I took a garden hose and sprayed it with high pressure water and got most of them off, and then I came back a second time or third time, you know, and hosed more of them off, and took my fingers and wiped some of them off, and you know, they're not there anymore. So anywho, all right, Pittman's Pumpkin Patch, Pittman's Garden Patch 2018. Woo! Happy birthday, Luke. Love you, big guy. Bye.